So there was a question, interesting question on the community today about how can I view or update triggers. Now this question is let me just read the question. So this question is all about need to determine what triggers are in place surrounding status changes. Now first of all, status in Jira is not really a field which you can change because when you look at any custom field, let us say a select list, you can change it. But the way status changes, the way statuses are changed in Jira are basically using uh, transitions. Now let me show you my one of my workflow. So this is my workflow, and if you look at the workflow, this is of course mm, it is a simplified workflow where you have all the basically you can go to any status from any status. So there are no transitions from, let us say, to do to done and done to in progress. uh, it says right now all. But if you look at a workflow where you have a traditional workflow, maybe I'll show you the Jira classic workflow. I'll go to the workflow, which is probably something a bit uh, more useful and relevant example for this particular uh, use case. So if you look at this workflow, which is called as classic default workflow, I have this workflow where these are different states: open, resolved, close, in progress. And from one state to another state, you can see these arrows. And so these arrows are nothing but transitions. So let us say if you want to go from open to in progress. So this is the transition. If you click on this arrow, you can see the different options like triggers, conditions, validators, and post functions. So talking about triggers are basically uh, it is a feature where you can trigger this transition like from open to in progress from any other tool, and that tool could be, let us say, Bitbucket. If you want to connect your Jira instance with your development, let us say your version control system, Bitbucket, for example, and let us say you do something in your code repository. Maybe you create a pull request, or maybe you create a new branch. You can do something in Jira by making a transition. So these are triggers. So doing something from outside, from a different tool to Jira. There is also something called as a post function. So when you make a transition, like after you have moved your issue from open to in progress, you can do something like, for example, maybe you want to send an email to someone, or maybe you want to update a field, or maybe you want to uh, call something in a different tool. So anything that you want to do after you have made a transition is something that you can manage in a post function. Now there is also a concept of an event. Now in Jira you have different events, and you can have events like issue updation, transition, and if you want to know more about the events, you can go to the automation rules. And when you make a transition, you're actually changing a status, unless it is a loop which is going to the same status. If you make a transition, usually you're changing a status. Uh, there is an event that you can capture, and if you want to take a look at uh, those events, you can go to the rule, and if you search for, let us say, uh, trigger, and if you type in transition, so basically you can capture that change in the status, which is of course in a way a transition. So you can capture that transition here, like if you change if you want to capture this open to in progress. Now whenever this transition happens, you can then do something with it. So basically it is like a listener that you are creating that will listen for this event, and it will do something only when the issue is moved from open to in progress. So using these things, you can actually do a lot of wonderful things. Like if you want to automate something, I guess this user is also trying to automate something, and that is why the question is all about triggers, related to change in status, or I should say transitions. So that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you also learned something new today. Thank you very much.